Good afternoon, Coach Kelly. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thanks, Dolly, for having me on.
It's so great to see you. It's been a long time.
Too long, Dolly. We've spent a lot of time in the month of May visiting a lot of the alumni network, cities, and to miss that because of the pandemic, we're going to have to do that twice as much next year.
You're on.
All right.
So you're starting your 30th year as a college football head coach, but we've never seen anything like this before. What are your thoughts about that? And when you think about looking back, what will you remember so far?
Well, I think there were times when, I thought this was my first year as being a head coach because there were so many uncertainties, things that you had never dealt with before, splitting up a locker room, making sure that your practice schedule was such that you were socially distanced, wearing a mask during a practice situation, so things that were challenging that had never been challenging before. Blowing a whistle, now it's an electronic whistle. Being able to articulate your message when you have a mask on your face. All the things that you take for granted that make it more difficult to talk to 115 people on a day-to-day basis. We have to have staff meetings by Zoom, as you know. When we meet as a team, we can only fit 80 in our room. We have 120 on the team. The rest have to be in another room, and we have to rebroadcast it, into other rooms. So challenges that you would never think of when you take on this challenge as a head coach.
And I'm sure a lot of them that would never dawn on the rest of us. But unlike a lot of teams, you have been able to avoid the high numbers of positive tests. So what are you and your team doing to be so successful on this front?
Well, it was our reintegration plan. I think that's where it starts, Dolly, is that we didn't even bring our guys back in here unless they were committed to coming back and understanding that this was going to be about their human behavior and how they handled themselves. And so we started with, clearly letting our players know that this was optional and that if they chose this option, it was not going to be easy. It was going to be difficult. And I think the second piece is that the university was gracious enough to allow us to use the Morris Inn as our bubble to start. And we used that to an advantage where we really locked down for the first 3 weeks, where our players were not allowed to leave campus. They weren't allowed to leave the Morris Inn. We wore face coverings for everything. We were very, very disciplined in all of the protocols and procedures, which gave our guys a great base and understanding on how they needed to operate when things were going to get more difficult, i.e. when the students came back on campus and large gatherings became more, probable, and certainly they were, and we were able to fight through a lot of those things. So I think it was our reintegration policy and then being, very, very diligent in the procedures and policies that were in place.
You have done an amazing amount of work with the whole peer accountability and leadership testing of your team. And all of a sudden, it is as important as ever. And your team has been very spoken out. They've been speaking out about telling other students to be safe. Would you have ever thought that this is where it would come into play?
Well, I think there were times where, we certainly knew that, at times when we had these conversations that the football team was going to be given an incredible opportunity. When Father Jenkins allowed the football team back on campus, our first meeting was, we cannot let Father Jenkins and the university down. We have to set the standard here. And setting the standard means accountability for our actions. So we can then, if we hold up our end of it, we can then hold others to that same level. Because if you don't do it yourself, there's no way that you can then speak to others. And we were able to do it on our end. And then that's where the peer accountability, it allows us then to come back and ask our students to live up to those same standards.
And now your students will be really at the forefront of cheering for the team on Saturday. But there's going to be limited fans, just for the record, I want you to know I'm going to be there. Wouldn't miss.
Awesome. We knew you wouldn't miss. It's not
Thank
possible.
you. And so how are you going to keep the team motivated with such a limited number of people in the stands and an inability to have as much noise?
Right. Well, these are athletes that clearly understand how important it is for them to be in their own zone, in their optimal zone. In other words, how they play their best. Look, there's always going to be ups and downs in a game, but they have to find how they play their best in their optimal zone. And so finding that optimal zone is what we have been working on for the last 3-4 weeks. We knew that there weren't going to be a lot of people in the stadium. So just working on that in practice, understanding that they had to find that. Some have to tune it up a little bit. Some have to tune it down, and finding that optimal zone. They can't rely on fans. They can rely a little bit on their teammates on the sideline, but it's up to them to finding that right zone. And so we've worked on that diligently in the mental preparation of our football team. Look, it's not all about the physical and the technical and the tactical pieces. It's the mental preparation as well. So we have taken that into account, knowing that there's not going to be a lot of fans in the stands. The artificial noise only gets you so much. It's really about finding that optimal zone in the mental preparation.
Well, I promise that I'll do my part to be as loud as I can in the stands.
Thank you. We'll take it.
So in addition to this pandemic, there's been a lot of conversation about the racial injustices and racial challenges, and especially among the members of your team. They've taken real leadership positions in putting forth some things both on campus and also off campus in the community. And so tell me a little bit about those conversations.
Well, I think, in any business or organization, I think it starts with, making sure that they know that they have a voice. And, if the leader of that business or organization, doesn't give them that opportunity, or they don't feel comfortable speaking, they're not going to speak. And so I think it started with me, and I had enough myself as it related to social injustice and racism in our country. And I needed to speak up first, and I needed to be, that role model for our guys, and then give them the platform. We used our social media pieces to give our guys a platform to use their voice. We took it to the next step in our community here at Notre Dame to get out in our community and have a rally to galvanize the community itself, and to allow them to feel comfortable with using their own voice. And I think that's been a great piece. And we continue to move forward with our own Unity Council, where we've registered all of our players now to vote, and they'll be voting in the general election. So again, I think it starts with the leaders, and then they empower those that can use their voice and make positive change.
It was so great to see the team during the Juneteenth march on campus, and how proud they were that you were right there at the helm with all of them.
Well, again, look, it's one thing to talk about it, but I think you have to be, in there with them. And like I said, I don't have all the answers, but I know that I have to be part of this change as well, and learn and grow every single day. And the best place to grow is to be part of the action. And I learned a lot from that day. I continue to learn every day, and it was certainly a galvanizing day for our entire community.
That's great. So tell me, was there any feedback from the team when you announced that our goal is to win the ACC Conference Championship? I loved that.
Yeah, certainly. We're extremely grateful to the ACC and giving us this opportunity to compete for a championship. We certainly would have been a challenge in terms of games. I think Jack Swarbrick would have been able to scrabble together a schedule, but being in the ACC is a great opportunity to compete for a championship in the ACC. And so our guys are excited about it. They're looking forward to this opportunity, and as well compete for a national championship, which is our mission here, is to graduate our players and play for a national championship. But adding that trophy as well has been one what our guys are really excited about.
That's pretty exciting. So one final question, because I know you're busy. I read this morning where Bruce Springsteen is
Yes,
coming out with a new album just
yes.
in time for your birthday.
It is. It's entitled appropriately "A Letter to Me" on my birthday. No, maybe I added that. Maybe it's just a letter to me. But yes, and I was so grateful to your daughter, who really, Riley. She kind of tipped me off on it. But it's going to be nice for all of those Springsteen fans out. You and I are certainly counted as some of them. But right around my birthday, for him to do this for me during this pandemic, I'll be forever grateful.
I think it was pretty kind. Well, it's great to see you. Thanks on behalf of all of our alumni for all you do. You are consistently generous. You're quick to say yes, and just know how much we appreciate it.
Well, again, it's been difficult for all of alums not having the opportunity to be in this stadium. Hopefully things change down the road. We'll see what happens, but we'll keep putting together a football team that they're proud of, and you'll be proud of the way these guys play this weekend.
Good luck. Go Irish.
Thanks, Dolly. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Coach.
Take care.